Hello and welcome to Module 5, Leveraging Other Resources. In this module, we'll be covering a set of virtual and non-virtual resources available to you to uplevel your skill set, improve your ability to translate academic skills into UX speak, meet and learn from others, and identify job opportunities. As we don't know your exact situation, by providing a range of resource options available to you, you'll be able to pick and choose what meets your needs. We'll start by providing you with an array of options for you to immerse yourself in the world of UX and UX research. First, we'll review several online platforms that provide resources for identifying job opportunities and for gathering information to leverage in your offer negotiations.
Let's start with LinkedIn. If you aren't familiar with LinkedIn, it's essentially an online professional platform for individuals to list their job credentials and past work history, create promotional or professional related posts, and search for and network around job openings and career advancement. Today, LinkedIn is an absolutely indispensable resource for job hunting and networking. On LinkedIn, you can search for and find people who are actively recruiting for open UX research roles. This may be the job recruiter or even the hiring manager in charge of making the actual hiring decision. You can connect with them and set up what are called informational chats to discuss the role and whether you may be a good fit. You can message these hiring managers and let them know you're interested in the role and would like to learn more about it and the desired skills and experiences needed so you can get a better understanding if you should actually apply for that position. Having connected with a recruiter or hiring manager and established an initial rapport, you can let them know when you actually apply, which may help your application get flagged for an interview. Navigating LinkedIn to find recruiters and hiring managers with open roles can be tricky, so let's walk through the user interface of the site. You'll want to start by navigating to the search bar at the top of the LinkedIn landing page. And quite honestly, one of the most effective tricks to finding recruiters and hiring managers looking to fill open UX roles is by using LinkedIn's search bar. In the search bar, if you type in the terms hiring and recruiter, select the people filter along with other filters if desired, the results will surface a wide number of recruiters who are currently hiring for UX research roles. You can then go ahead and connect with these individuals or just message them directly. Surface results will be more accurate if you first set your profile to open to work and select UX researcher, user researcher, and design researcher as desired job titles. Setting your status to open to work will also communicate to recruiters on LinkedIn that you're looking for work and will increase the likelihood that they just reach out to you directly. We'll go into a lot more detail about working with recruiters to land a job in Module 6 and then again in Module 7. Another approach is to search using the terms UX researcher and hiring and filtering for people, which will surface hiring managers looking to hire for UX researcher roles. In both cases, using these terms and filters will present you with a significant number of recruiters and hiring managers that you can reach out to discuss these open roles and see if you might be a good fit. Once you've found a recruiter or hiring manager with an open role that looks like it might be a good match for your skill set, go ahead and reach out to them, message them, letting them know that you're transitioning from academia into UX research and you'd like to set up an informal chat to discuss the open role in question and whether or not you may be a good fit for it. You can feel free to use the example message we shared in the previous slide as a template. And don't be dissuaded if the person you've messaged doesn't respond to you. Even if the response rate to you is low, direct communication can yield some great results. Sending messages via LinkedIn is both an accepted and very much expected form of outreach that goes both ways, as a hiring manager or recruiter may in fact also search for and reach out to you. One final note on leveraging LinkedIn for job searching and forging professional connections. So there are restrictions on the number of messages that you're allowed to send to non-contacts in LinkedIn. This means you'll either need to pay for LinkedIn Premium, which is about $30 a month, or alternately invite the recruiter or hiring manager to connect with your message sent along with the invitation.
Like LinkedIn, Glassdoor is an information and communication platform for work-related career questions and advancement. The added benefit of Glassdoor is that it more prominently posts an aggregated salary information pulled from publicly available and individually shared sources. This is really useful if and when you're at the point in your job search where you need to specify a desired salary range or actually negotiate your contract. Having a frame of reference from reliable source of information about what you should receive in terms of compensation is really empowering at a time when you otherwise feel really vulnerable and greenhorn. We will be going into greater detail regarding job offers in Module 8 in case you are wondering. Slack is a community forum and messaging platform, not unlike Reddit and Discord. You can find some more information in the notes below, along with a link on how Slack specifically works. There are a number of community forums on Slack referred to as workspaces. These are organized around topics or discussion points. You can also direct message individuals in Slack as well as other communities like Discord and subreddit. In this section, we're only going to be talking specifically about Slack, but it's worth exploring other online forums like Discord and Reddit that have UXR related community forums as well. To get started on Slack, you have to belong to a company or organizational workspace, which are only accessible to members of an organization or those who have been invited to join them. In order to help facilitate your joining of UX-related workspaces, we've provided a number of links below to Slack workspaces that we personally enjoy and think are very helpful for transitioning from academia to UX research. They include Ethnography Matters, Epic's Ethnography Hangout, and Mixed Methods. Again, these are all in Slack workspaces, and you can follow their directions using the links below to request to join them. These organizations' workspaces feature channels, which organize conversations and topics that you can use to meet and network with other aspiring UX researchers or established UX researchers. Perhaps more crucially, there are job-related Slack channels you can use to land short-term UX gig work. You can leverage this gig work to bolster your resume and, more importantly, reference during one-on-one interviews and panel presentations.
There are several free or reasonably priced resources available online that can help educate you about user research and its application in the private sector. We highly recommend taking time to learn more about the field so that you can more readily code switch between your academic experience and knowledge and that of user research.
Tenets and Traps, TNT, are user interface evaluation tools developed from years of accumulated research knowledge on successful user experience design. TNT explains why certain problems arise rather than just pointing problems out, making it a useful approach in a workplace setting that values actionable insights and impact. As a tool, Tenets and Traps help UX researchers and designers assess and predict what a user's experience will be like and how to improve it satisfactorily. Tenets are generally accepted or agreed upon best practices for designing usable, accessible, and intuitive user experiences. Traps are frequently seen as design problems or issues that negatively affect user experience and overall goodness. By minimizing traps, user experience improves. Tenets and Traps offer a series of cards, a deck of cards. So they're easy to take with you and reference on the fly. A single deck costs $30 and comes with an index card that lists all of the 9 tenets and 26 traps, with definitions, examples, and instructions describing how to use the cards, making them an effective on-the-fly tool to leverage.
Medium is an open platform where folks can publish and promote their articles or stories and share them with a wide audience. There are an absolute wealth of articles that can help deepen your knowledge of UX research methods and to gather tips and insights that'll be useful when transitioning into UX research. Medium is a truly priceless tool for learning how to speak and think like a UX researcher, ensuring you communicate your academic experience and skill set fluently to a UX community. It's also a really fantastic resource to get a sense of the current trends and research methods, design thinking practices, types of novel research approaches, and trends in the UX community more broadly.
The Nielsen Norman Group often written in shorthand as NN\G, is a long-standing global leader in user experience research. The co-founders, Jakob Nielsen and Donald Norman, are both considered pioneering figures in the UX research space, having published a number of seminal texts on how to conduct UX research and how to go about improving the usability and experience of users' interactions with products. We've referenced in the notes below a link to those resources and their books. If you're interested in purchasing them or learning more, you can find it below. The Nielsen Norman Group's website is just absolutely chock full of useful UX related materials, including articles and videos, training and events, as well as longer format reports and books. It's really a font of UX research basics. The Nielsen Norman Group's materials will help you become just really ensconced in UX methods and case studies, and ultimately more conversant in the debates du jour and most current jargon of UX research. It's worth familiarizing yourself also with Nielsen and Norman's books. As mentioned before, they're kind of the seminal publishers and thought leaders of what UX research is, helping to ground and set the foundations for what we practice today. So definitely look into their publications. They include Nielsen's Usability Engineering and Norman's The Design of Everyday Things.
There's an ever-increasing number of UX-related podcasts available for your consumption. If your life is rather hectic and it's difficult to make time to sit down and comb through the internet or read through books, research websites, and articles, tuning into a UX or UX research-specific podcast might be a reasonable alternative to start familiarizing yourself with the way people talk and how they organize their research projects so that you can more effectively code switch between academic knowledge and methods and that of UX. We really just encourage you to find what works best for you. So if that happens to be podcasts, we'll talk about a few podcasts that we particularly love, as well as provide some links below for other podcasts that would be worth listening to, regardless of whether or not that's your only choice.
Despite its name, the Anthropology to UX podcast is a really helpful resource, not just for anthropologists, but also social scientists and former academics looking to break into UX. Guests on the show discuss their backgrounds, how they made the transition, what they learned in the process, and if they were to go back again, what they might do differently. Guests also discuss conducting UX research from a practical point of view, offering tips on how to put together an effective portfolio and resume. They offer a lot of really useful and pragmatic insights and tips, but it's also just really nice to hear others' experiences and struggles when making that jump from academia to UX. It can be really validating to hear that you're not alone in the process, that many others have struggled and continue to struggle, but ultimately succeeded in breaking into UX from academia. There are a number of other podcasts that cover a range of UX related topics and specializations, including user research, design, and strategy. We've provided the links below in the notes, so please do take advantage of those resources to further educate yourself or explore new topics. If you come across any other UX related podcasts outside of the ones we've listed, please do get in touch with us to let us know so we can share them with others going forward. Each of these podcasts generally have a very similar structuring in how they go about conducting each of the sessions. Usually there'll be a host who has a guest speaker, somebody that has practical experience or knowledge in UX, perhaps has published a book recently or given a talk. They go through a series of questions with the guest, asking about their prior experience in the field of UX, what are the greatest challenges, and what are the novel innovations that they're seeing in the field more broadly. We're really looking forward to learning about what you're listening to and what we could, again, share out with others going forward.
So quite simply, we don't advocate for UX certification programs for academics with master's and doctorate degrees. This is because the level at which these certification programs are taught are not appropriate for your skill and knowledge level. At this point in your education, what you lack related to UXR is not methodological rigor nor analytical prowess, but simply a lack of familiarity with UX as a discipline. Once you learn the jargon, familiarize yourself with the problem sets your methods are applied to, and the culture of communicating research insights, you'll quickly accelerate within the field. All of this translational work you can do on your own and without a hefty price tag. Additionally, having spent time on hiring committees for user research positions, having a UX certificate does not lend any credibility to a job candidate that already has a master's or a PhD. So while we don't recommend investing your time and money into UX certification programs, more info on these types of courses can be found in this module's course notes.
Generally speaking, UX researchers who were formerly academics will be very open and inviting of mentoring those who are trying to land a UX research job. Having gone through this arduous process themselves, they're often willing to mentor others to help them in that transition. Whether you contact someone via LinkedIn or Slack or reach out to a friend of a friend, seeking out a UXR mentor is highly encouraged by us, as it can help complement the materials presented in this course or address questions or concerns not specifically covered here.
All right, congratulations on making it to the end of Module 5. Here we've covered an absolute ton of super useful resources, platforms, and approaches that will be indispensable in making your transition into UX research. Starting with LinkedIn, which is a key resource for job hunting, we talked about how to use search and filter capabilities to find recruiters and managers that are hiring UX researchers. We also discussed the importance of modifying your settings to make yourself more discoverable by those searching for candidates on LinkedIn. Also on LinkedIn, we talked about how commonplace it is to set up informational chats with recruiters and managers, but remember that LinkedIn has messaging restrictions, so upgrading to premium may be necessary. We briefly touched on Glassdoor, which is similar to LinkedIn, but offers more salary and benefit insights, which may be really useful when considering and comparing the details of a job offer. Also, Slack, a community forum platform, has relevant UX workspaces that you can get invited to join and are super useful in making the UX transition. There you can explore channels to network and land gig work to help bolster your resume. In this module, we've also gone over really great informational and educational resources, starting with tenets and traps, which can help you understand user interface pain points and how to improve them. Medium.com also has a vast amount of free articles and videos on UX research and adjacent topics that you can leverage throughout your transition. Similarly, we talked about the Nielsen Norman Group, which is a well-established worldwide pioneer and leader in UX, whose founders have authored seminal texts in UX research. For all those podcast lovers out there, we touched on some useful podcasts, such as Anthro to UX, which offers practical tips and personal stories about anthropologists who have successfully made the jump into UX. As far as UX certification programs, our stance is that we don't recommend them, as they're generally below your skill and knowledge level at this point. Additionally, much of the translational work can be done on your own without paying a lot for it. Lastly, we encourage mentorship, as many former academics are really open to mentoring, and can be found via LinkedIn and Slack, as well as other platforms dedicated to UX mentoring. So now that you've been presented with this absolute treasure trove of resources, be sure to take some time and really delve into the course notes for this module, as you'll find loads of useful links that'll propel your transition and equip you with even more nuanced tools to break into UX.